Welcome back to the Wizard Shop. It's time for more blown head gaskets on a Subaru. Let's get started.
Come on, Wizard. This model's too new to have that problem.
Yeah, that's right. It actually doesn't have blown head gaskets, but I had you guys, didn't I? Because it is so well known, Subaru equals blown head gaskets. But that is true for the older models. It's not true for these newer ones. They solved that problem a while ago. This one luckily doesn't have that problem and probably won't have that problem. This is a 2014 Subaru Outback, and it's actually owned by the guy that does my dental work. He's a very cool guy, very good friend. Now, as nice as this car is, and no, it doesn't have blown head gaskets, it does have a CVT transmission. And no, it doesn't have any problems, but it's here today for a service so that it doesn't have those problems. There's the key thing. It's getting serviced. A CVT is not that bad as long as you service it. Every one that I've replaced, and I mentioned to you guys at one time I replaced a plethora, a multitude of these CVT transmissions. Most of them were Nissans, but when I asked them when was the last time it was serviced, the customer says, I don't know, I didn't even know you had to do that. And now we're replacing a burned up transmission. This customer's wiser than that. He said, I know that it's possible, so I'm going to service it and I'm going to keep it going. There's also a few other things we're doing to this car, but we'll take a look around. It is in very nice shape. He just got it, and I think he did very good. Let's take a look. Okay, I'm going to cover up the badge. And I could lie to you guys that are uninitiated with cars and say, this is a Honda or a Lexus. You wouldn't even know the difference. That's kind of what's weird about the styling on cars today. You can buy a Lexus, a Nissan, an Acura, a Toyota, a Subaru. They all look the same anymore. But it does look really good. It has a nice sporty character to it. Meant for the outdoors. It is all-wheel drive. It has pretty good tires on it. These are the 17-inch alloy wheels. And it has the cladding that we all have grown to love with Subarus, especially the earlier Outbacks. They always had cladding along the bottom. No dents, no major rust holes, which is really good. Now this little plastic, hard plastic trim piece here, you'd be surprised how many of the cheaper cars they don't even offer that. So when you pull your luggage out, you just scrape your bumper up. They were smart here and actually added that, and it protects that from happening. So let us know in the comments section how many of you have a Hungarian wire-haired Vizsla. I don't. I've seen pictures of this dog. Let us know in the comments if you have one as well. As we go down this side, it's the same as the other side. He did very well as far as there's no rust holes, scratches, dents. It's in good shape. Let's take a peek under the hood. Here we have our 2.5 liter opposed 4-cylinder. For those of you not familiar with Subarus, no, it's not an inline 4 or V4 or V6. It's flat like the old days, like the Volkswagen Beetles, a flat 4. These have 173 horsepower and roughly 250 pound-feet of torque. And they're really fuel efficient. They're really a good engine. Once they got past the head gasket issue, really, I like these engines. They're easy to work on. All the accessories are right here. Power steering, alternator, AC compressor, all in a row. I can physically touch all of them right now. That is so easy to replace. Look at our oil filter, right there. You don't have to crawl under the vehicle and get dirt on your back. It's literally just right there. There's lots of sensors and things that are easily gotten to underneath the intake, coolant hoses. They're not hard to do. Throttle body is just right there. Very accessible. Here's our AC expansion valve. Again, very easy to get to, but not our heater core. You see the two black hoses there? Guess where that goes, guys? You've seen it in the last couple of videos. Inside the dash, where the whole dash has to come apart to get to the heater core. I wish they would stop doing that. But otherwise, this is a very easy engine to work on. Let's let Mrs. Wizard give you guys the interior tour.
Okay, here we are, ladies and gents, starting out with this dash. It looks a little bit like a Christmas tree, but no, it's not really. It's because it's in accessory mode. You can see it does have 90,000 miles on it, and it's in really good shape. As we slide up to the dash, you'll see nothing wrong. It's in really good condition. It does have some really nice wood grain made from the best plastic trees on the planet, but they do look really nice. We see we have a lovely center area with a very small, stereo infotainment system and simple controls for our gear selection. On the seats, they are a leather seat. They are an ivory and they are perforated leather. They're heat only. There is not a cooling option on them, but they are quite comfortable. There's quite an extension for the headrest. I know the owner, and I can't imagine either of them are that tall, but they keep the headrest up. Again, nice back seat, leather as well. It does look like it has a 60-40 split on it, which can then be laid down to make that back cargo area even larger. As we slide up to the ceiling, we'll see there's no rips, tears, marks, fingerprints, nothing. Let's check out the ceiling to the shop. There we go. And there's our ceiling. So, nice little moonroof there. It does look like it also opens as well. Normal controls that we have today, closing open back hatches and lights and things like that. As with so many cars today, we can see on the rear view mirror that we also have 3 garage door opener settings that could be programmed in, which is nice and handy. And on that dash area, you'll see that there is a little bit of information there. It gives us some information about the outside space around us. So we can see the interior of our shop today is 71 degrees. As we slide up to that steering wheel, got some nice controls, making sure we can keep our eye on the road with some simple controls to make sure that we keep our focus on what's in front of us and not what we're trying to do in the car. I'm intrigued to see what this looks like underneath. Let's get this up in the air.
So the first thing I'm going to do is take a look through the lower grille entrance. There really isn't a grill there, but it's an opening for air. We can look for any UV dye leaking from the condenser. You'll actually see a big wet spot. Everything looks nice and clean and dry. From here, we'll look at the radiator core support and the radiator itself. There's our transmission cooler lines. Everything's nice and dry. Very minor corrosion here, but that's to be expected for the age. Here we have the little 4-cylinder engine. You can see that there's our exhaust. Like I mentioned, it's a flat 4. 2 on that side and 2 on the right side. There's our catalytic converter. There's our oil pan with a new crush washer on it. We did an oil change. Everything looks nice and dry there. Here is our CVT transmission. These can actually be very complicated, especially when a customer wants the differential oil and the CVT serviced. This time around, we're just doing the CVT only. But here's a fill plug for the CVT. Here's the pan for the CVT. We actually pulled the pan and put a new filter inside of it. It's got fresh fluid. But then over here is a drain for the differential. And the fill for the differential is right here. It can get very confusing. We'll go ahead and check our brakes. They look almost brand new. They're very thick. The struts are dry. CV shaft boots are not cracked or torn. Those are in good shape. I've done a wiggle test on these already when it was on a 2-post lift and everything was nice and tight. Over here our brakes are equally as thick. No blown out strut. CV boots are not cracked or torn, nothing leaking. Everything's good there. I've checked this drive shaft and it's in good shape. The U-joints are fine, but you can see right there on the caps of the U-joints, there's little stake marks that actually punch the material or the steel around the cap, and that's what holds the U-joint in. These are not replaceable, guys. You're not going to replace the U-joints on these, just the joint itself. Once you take those out, there's no snap rings, there's nothing to hold it in. You have to replace the entire drive shaft. Here we have the exhaust, kind of a resonator, and here's the other end of our drive shaft. You can see those little punch marks or stake marks again. I've actually taken these drive shafts off and taken them to a drive shaft rebuilding shop. All they do is drive shafts. They're in the Wichita area, and when I take them one of these, they're like, nope, we're not even going to touch that. We can't restake it. Once you push those out or press those U-joints out, it ruins the yokes. So if the U-joints go bad, plan on a new drive shaft. They're usually $500 or $600 just for the part. That doesn't include the labor to take it all apart. That's on Honda CR-Vs, that's on Subarus, that's on multiple different vehicles anymore. They don't want you to replace the U-joints. You buy a whole drive shaft. Look at this tiny differential, guys. This is the rear differential. It's like the size of 2 fists. Little bitty guy. We did check it, it's nice and full, clean fluid. Here is our little CV shafts and the little boots. They're nice and dry, not cracked. The strut is dry. Everything's nice and tight there, and the brakes are also very thick in the back. Go to this side, same story. The strut is nice and dry. No cracked boots, no grease slinging out anywhere, and nice thick brake pads. Sway bar links are good. Here's our exhaust and the muffler in the rear. One thing you'll notice is the nice shiny black paint here. The customer supplied a nice new Curt receiver hitch, and we did install it for them. It comes with the bolts and everything and shows you where to install the bolts. We ran the wiring connected to the stock harness inside the car. Everything went very well. We normally don't do a lot of these, but I did that for this customer and it turned out very nice. I'm very happy with the results. Let's check the date code on our tires like we always do, and it looks like 3120. So these are from 2020. They are about a year old or less. They are very nice new tires. So it doesn't need tires, luckily. Let's go ahead and get this thing on the ground. So no, it doesn't have blown head gaskets. And I'm very thankful for that for this customer or anyone that would have one of these. There is one thing that can be very troublesome. Luckily, this vehicle doesn't have that feature. On the newer Subarus, they have what's called eyesight. And right up by the rearview mirror are actually little cameras. And that's for lane departure and things of that nature to let you know you're kind of going out of your own lane. It can be a very useful feature. It's for safety and it works very well. I've experienced it. But a lot of people have been having problems with them, and you can only get them recalibrated at the dealership. There's a little chart or a little board that they aim the cameras at and they do the calibration. We don't have that here. Only the dealership's going to have that, and in fact, I wouldn't want to do it because if something's not perfectly right and a customer gets into a crash, I don't want to be liable for that. I leave that to the dealerships. We've actually had a customer with a different Subaru that had eyesight problems, not their eyesight here, but the one that's in the windshield, by the windshield. We couldn't do anything for him. Had to send him to the dealership. There was an issue with the unit, they fixed it, and then they had to do the recalibration. From what I understand from people I know in the industry, those eyesight units are dropping like flies. They're just very problematic. They can become out of alignment or calibration, and that's all it needs, but you have to go back to the dealer. You get it recalibrated, it lasts a few months, and it's out of calibration again. And you have to keep going back. It's just really an annoyance. I would rather not have it, and luckily this one does not have it. We saw it's a very nice vehicle. We took care of the CVT service. It has fresh fluid and a fresh filter. He's ready to go. Oil change on the engine, and we installed the Curt receiver hitch in the back. We're all done. He'll come pick this up tomorrow. But overall, I think he did very good. It's a very nice Subaru. So if you're curious what kind of tools we used on this Subaru, check my Amazon affiliates link in the description below. We get a small cut and we really appreciate it. Make sure to hit the subscribe button because there is so many more cool videos to come. Thanks for watching.